here with Copernicus.
Good evening, good afternoon, and good evening.
And good morning.
Why are we here?
We're here because I'm going to interview you.
And I think
Right now.
I'm going to interview you
Right,
also.
we're going to interview each other.
But why am I in your house?
You're at my, well, I, I just enjoy entertaining people in my house, and I just want to entertain you, Copernicus.
You gave me a call.
I gave you a call. No, Copernicus, so Copernicus, the persona Copernicus. You're going to tell me about Copernicus?
First, you gave me a call about
Right.
2 weeks
Oh,
ago
2
or
weeks
so,
ago.
and you said you were doing a show
At the Knitting Factory
on
on November 24th.
November 24th. And what did you ask me?
I said, Copernicus, would you please give us the honor of being our partner in crime at this
Okay.
event? And so Copernicus will be appearing with my band, Dark Blue, at the Knitting Factory, November 24th, 1992, at 11:30.
Great. And I'll be doing the show that I just did in Berlin, a solo show. And I'm going on tour on December 1st to about 9 cities in East Germany. And that's the show that I will be doing. So it's going to be interesting. We did once before at Chennai, right?
Right, at Chennai.
You
I
did
had
one
a series
piece,
there.
and I did a piece.
Right.
It was very interesting. And so now we have sort of an expanded time.
Right.
And let's see what happens as a result of it. You're going to be opening that night, aren't you?
Right.
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. And then you're going to come on again after?
Yes. Yes. And I'm really looking forward to doing it. What we do, my band, what we do, Dark Blue, we, instead of me painting myself green and getting up and screaming a lot, I just play it down. I have a severe psycho jazz sound behind poetry and performance art, and I feel real attuned to what you're doing, which has become geared more towards performance art. Do you think?
Well, right, yeah. I for many years I was up there with the musicians, and we toured with the musicians. And now for about a year and a half, I've tried to evolve on my own, and I've gone from a very complicated hour and a half of costume changes and complicated lighting systems and very different kinds of pieces to a much more bare bones type thing where I'm not changing costume and I'm there up there with more synthesizer, and it's all the energy given to changing of costumes is not given to the performance.
Right.
So it's something that really hasn't been presented to New York City audience at all yet.
So this is
The first time I did it in Berlin in front of 700 people about a week ago.
This is going to be new for New York City.
Yes,
It's
right.
more similar to what you did at Chennai.
Well, I only did one piece at Chennai.
Right. And
But
that was
here
great.
I'm going to do. I'll be doing almost an hour, actually.
That was really great. I
Yeah.
mean, it was so intense.
Well, the thing is, how do you maintain that for an hour show? You understand? So how do you
Right.
maintain that intensity? Anybody can do 20 minutes of
Right.
intensity. Can you maintain it for 20 minutes? So that will be what will happen on the 24th at the Knitting Factory. So we went on 11 o'clock, right?
Right, 11:30. We got moved.
Oh, 11:30.
Yeah, we got moved up. Yeah, we did. Unfortunately, but well, I don't know. Maybe it'll be good to go on a little, the natives will have a few drinks. That can be festive. But I know that when you performed at Chennai, it was just really incredibly intense. It was great. The place, you had to really be there. The place was really packed, and it's a very small area, and you just really came on really strong. Everyone was on the edge of their seat, and
I think that piece was raw that I did. Raw?
I believe so.
Yeah, I don't do raw in the show anymore. So.
But no, Raw. What is that from one of your albums,
Mm.
right? And which album is that?
That's from the last album. No.
No. Right, and you can pick those up still here at Tower.
Yeah, Tower Records has
Okay. And,
or write to Box 170-150 Brooklyn, New York.
right.
What was that address again?
What's that address again?
Box 170-150 Brooklyn, New York 11217. I'll be coming out with a new album now, so that's my 5th album. I'll be coming out hopefully within 2 months.
Do you do this? Do you go into the studio yourself and do this, and just help you produce yourself? You do.
Well, what I've had we've gone into the studio and with large numbers of musicians, sometimes up to 18 musicians, and jam.
Right.
And come out with 30, 40 pieces of work. And they didn't know what I was going to do, and I didn't know what they were going to do, and we've done some really excellent pieces. This new album is going to be a bit different in the sense that there'll be maybe 40% of the album will have the music created by a fellow by the name of Michael Theodore, who took some of my lyrics and created the music behind. The rest of the pieces will have been created spontaneously with various groups of musicians in the studio.
And you have these albums that are also in other dialects. You do performances in German and.
Well, now since I'm in fact I just was on the phone with somebody in a town called Cottbus in East Germany, and when I perform in Berlin, there's no problem. People understand English. But in East Germany, the East Germans were not taught English at all. They were taught Russian. And this guy in East Germany, he told my promoter in Berlin that he wanted to record my concert in Cottbus. So I tried to straighten it out. And my German is getting better, but they understand no English. I mean, it's like no English at all in East Germany. So I've incorporated about 35 to 40% of German in my concert now. So I mean, it's ridiculous. Most people find it very difficult to understand what I'm saying if they understand English. So if they go in front of an audience and just spit English at them, no. So, and they like it. I did that in Berlin just a week ago.
But do you label yourself? What do you label what you're doing? Are you labeling it as anything? Is it just, I mean, it's definitely, you go in, and I would say it's poetry, but what do you call it?
What I'm doing now?
What you're doing now. Before it was with the music, and now, and you're still using music too. Well,
now I'm playing with synthesizers. So what is it now? So it's very poetic. I mean, it definitely is, and but also very philosophical. So, and it's full of energy and it's emotional. And so what is all? And it's revolutionary.
Right. That's what my band what we did. We had decided we'd play like kind of psycho jazz, and we throw in beatnik poetry, sort of, but not really beatnik. I think it's more sophisticated than that. And we build this intense, almost, climatic stage. And we thought, well, I thought, gee, we had such a good time before at Chennai when you had went on, and we went on, after you there. And I thought, let's get Copernicus to do something again, because it really added almost beatnik 1960s quality, but I think it surpassed that. It was a lot of fun, and it was pretty much on the same, I think, not the same wavelength, but because I feel like that this is my band, and this is Copernicus. I just think what he does is brilliant, and but if I'm gearing to anything, it would be toward. You have been a real big inspiration to me, and I'm gearing myself very sophisticated, but not overly so, but towards more like Copernicus. He became a real big influence. His stuff was really great.
That element of just being free and letting things out the way you feel is a very strong force of the 60s. Just to abandon yourself to the inspiration, and this is one of the things I'm now much more incorporating now into, because this really is my strength. Most of the pieces I do. But before I was presenting pieces that were already on the album, created through this spontaneity. But now when you try to redo them on the stage, that spontaneity is killed because you're just reproducing that piece. So I didn't like that part of it, and now there's a lot more spontaneity in what I'm doing. So, but that is an element of the '60s. About, aren't you? Don't you have much? Do you have a lot of spontaneity in your work?
Definitely, I improvise. Which when I
Well,
saw
the piece you did at Chennai, was that was not improvised?
that
right?
was pretty improvised.
That
Yeah,
was
that was improvised.
Huh?
I have like you know, I did a performance piece called 1900, and I gathered the experiences that I had through doing phone sex lines. I went in. I was asked to do a smut festival a few years ago, and I decided to go in and do this persona of a girl that talks on the telephone, talking dirty on the telephone. And I thought before I could do this piece, I wanted to go, and I went to um, an adult magazine. I did a phone line for Penthouse and also for Screw, because I wanted to feel how it really was, you know, especially the live lines helped me a lot, because really having to interact with other people in another line, and I created this persona, Candy, and so that I developed that into this piece. But I go in with, I know what Candy's about now. She's a whole different creature. She's like a real sultry, really low self-esteem person, but she becomes what she becomes this. She weaves this web of imagery through her persona, and I gathered that up and I made it into a performance piece, and I did it at a smut fest, and I got written up for that, and it was a lot of fun. It really is, and I still take Candy wherever I go. She's in my back pocket, so I did that at Chennai. I did Candy.
Well, so it woke me up. I'll tell you that.
Right.
And so, but again, the pieces that you do this night. On the 24th of
right,
November, 11:30 p.m. at Knitting
right.
Factory. Are you? What else? What other things do you touch?
I would say half of it is probably improvised. I would say half, at least half, because my
In other words,
band.
right now you don't know what you're going to do.
Well, the themes I have a theme. We have the themes, the basic themes, but one piece is about being a battered wife and retaliating with a gun. You know, taking the law into your own hands. And that piece is called Baby, and I'm going to be doing that along with, let's see, we do like a Japanese jazz song, which is called Japan. It's kind of real spooky and eerie. I would say it's a little bit like, I don't want to say anything, you have to come and see it.
Sure.
You know, and then we do, another piece that we'll be doing is, You Are Ugly, We Are Pretty, You Must Die, 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 which is a real rock and roll song. So we do mix that in with the other things.
So the music is spontaneous, though?
Most of it is varied, because we, you know, my band isn't, we decided to approach it in a different way. Most people they really rehearse a zillion times a week, and they do you know, you have the cover band, and you have people that are creative, they do their own stuff, but we felt like we wanted to take it a step further and to add, you know, the spontaneous pleasure of allowing yourself as an artist to create in front of an audience, which I get so much satisfaction in creating and allowing the audience to take part in that creativity. So we leave it very loose. We have our basic theme, our basic lines, and then we go in and we just allow the audience to be part of that fusion, which I'm really excited about, you know. And I think that, do you find yourself doing this too? I mean, I find myself doing this more and more, and I get so much energy.
What you mean, incorporating the audience?
Yes. Well, by allowing them to see the fusion of the music, the creation, and getting their feedback through applause and whatever, through screams of "you suck," you know, but that as well, you know. I enjoy to see the audience react to what I'm doing, and you can't beat that. You can go to rehearsal and you can create, but to have some, you know, being in front of people creating and allowing them to be witness to this, I find it very satisfactory.
An audience can make me make a masterpiece or want to kill. I've had all kinds of audiences, and but very often, just like this last audience in Berlin, East Berlin, just now a week ago, the audience I had really mesmerized, but there were a small little pocket here and a pocket there of people who came to see a rock show, and they were talking out loud, and then they started to make fun of the atoms. The atoms were here, the atoms were there, and they were talking out loud, almost equal to me. So,
Sie dumm?
yeah,
That-
well,
yeah.
yeah, well, they were having fun with me, and it was about 5% of the audience, and I mean, that happens to me a lot.
Right.
But I am challenging their view of themselves, their view of life. I mean, I tell them Germany doesn't exist. I tell them that Helmut Kohl was descended from bacteria, and they understand what I'm saying. And I challenge them also. I challenge them to move on to where the next world is. So very often, a lot of people won't be ready for that. But though in Czechoslovakia, they're much more open. They're listening. They're not as cocky.
And the Germans are very cocky.
Not all of them. I'm just
Well,
saying.
the ones I know are. I'm sorry. No, my dear friends, but no, I don't. I hate to say that because that's really bad to say to
I think
anybody.
you come to know. I've come to actually like them better than I liked them originally. They're not as strong as they sometimes may give off. They're much more gentle and much more sensitive than the cliche of what a German is, maybe.
So you were. Can I ask you a question about that? When you were over there, did you see any like neo-Nazi demonstrations, or was that really going?
Well, we experienced that in Poland. We did a tour. In 1989, we did a tour of Prague, Moscow, Berlin with the band.
Right.
Sopot, Poland, Torun, Poland, Lithuania, and in Sopot, we had a massive stage in the middle of a forest. We had a black video guy took with us, Corbett Santana, and they actually the skinheads in Poland. Now these are.
They're not in Germany.
They're not skinheads only in Germany. There are skinheads in Poland, and there are skinheads in England.
There's skinheads here.
And I guess if you create the same amount of conditions anywhere, you'll have skinheads here. So it's an ultra rightist view of life. They don't like foreigners, and they didn't like me for my long hair, and they didn't like Corbett for being black, and they will kill you if they can. And you are a threat to them, and this is their country, and they don't want you there. And if your skin is wrong, they don't like that. And if your hair is long, they don't like that. And Sieg Heil and anything else.
That's amazing because.
Yeah, but these are young people who have no jobs, who have no hope.
They're very unhappy.
And
they're gonna thresh out whoever they think is an obstacle that's in their way. They're going to strike out at that person, no matter. They look at difference as something to fear, and that's what's really skinheads about experience. When I lived in Alabama, I lived right above skinheads. But what I was curious about, since you were just there, was that I know how the media here in the United States they've been really sensationalistically, sensationalistically writing about skinheads and about how they're coming together and they're so big or whatever, and the press always I think blow this out of proportion. I feel like that's very definite because from the skinheads in Birmingham were like 10 people out of the whole state, and I'm just curious asking you. I feel that it's like 10 skinheads in San Francisco when they did the piece, and yeah.
Tell George we don't need him today. Tell Copernicus we'll be down in about 20 minutes. I'll meet him in front of the building. Go ahead.
But that I feel like that the media really blew that out, and so I'm asking you because you were there. Did you see this overwhelming population of kids becoming skinheads, the white supremacist thing happening? And did you see this?
Did I see it?
This happening. Did you see this happening? This enormous. I lost my point because another way. All right. I'm from Birmingham, Alabama, and I was really a real witness that the media really blew the Birmingham area skinheads out of proportion. They really went on, they
Well,
sensationalistically,
the media are losing
you know.
all credibility. They do that all the time with everything.
Right, they do, exactly. But, you know, they would say, oh, the skinhead movement, and even I think the Village Voice, I think so many publications have been really, and of course Geraldo, I mean, all those stupid talk shows, they've really been focusing in for ratings. I think they're using the skinhead as a real, to sell papers. But my experience was that the Birmingham area skinheads consisted of about 7 or 8 people at the most. And it was really a joke. People were really frightened about these skinheads. You know, they were hiding it. They're going, oh my God, this stuff. And it was like these 8 people. It was a big joke. And the question I have for you, when you were I've been watching all this, press, and I see where all these neo-Nazis are demonstrating in Germany, and when you were in Germany, did you see evidence of all these, people coming together as neo-Nazis? Did you see this? I mean, my experience is that I don't really see it happening. I think it's just,
Well, Germany has an incredible immigrant law. Any person on the face of the earth can go up to the German border and declare himself an immigrant. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And the German law says, the government must now take this person, okay, and support him for 3 years, because it takes the legal process to get that person out of the country if it was illegally entered. It takes 3 years to get them out. And so in that time, they house all of these immigrants for 3 years all outside of a town someplace, in a barrack type situation. Okay? So now you have these barracks filled with illegal aliens, but they're not in jail, they're in barracks, and the government is supporting them for 3 years. And so in these East German cities mainly, you have enormous amount of unemployment, and these young people have no work, and they're blaming the foreigners for taking their work. Okay? Now, as far as did I see large numbers of them? No, but my tour manager wanted to cancel this tour of mine, which is going to be, let's see, starting on the 3rd in a place called Cottbus. Then I'm going to do a concert in Prague, and then on the 10th I go to Weimar, and then I go to Leipzig, I go to Dresden, then I go to Halle, and from Halle on the 15th, then I go to Magdeburg, and then Erfurt, and then I go back up into Berlin to Tachlis, into East Berlin. I do a concert in East Berlin. They wanted to, they said it was dangerous for me to go there at this time, and I said, well, I didn't think I wanted to do it anyway. So the promoter was afraid. My friend, who is the manager of the Quasimodo Club in Berlin, his girlfriend is black. He's a German. She's black. She's afraid to travel the subway in Berlin right now.
Oh, because
So,
of the situation.
all right. So.
But I'm afraid to travel the subway, here myself,
Well, so I did not see large numbers, but of course we did have the opposite. We just had this weekend a massive demonstration of the left, counteracting the small right-wing numbers. I mean, you had hundreds of thousands, 100,000 people at least in Berlin just now marching, and against this ultra right wing that is reacting against the foreigners. So our conversation has gone into Berlin politics,
Right.
German politics. Very, very interesting.
Well, I think that put me at ease when you. I hope it puts the viewers at ease that I think that the skinhead, because you would say maybe the media is sensational, using this to sell papers and to they blow it out of proportion.
Economic conditions produce different kinds of people, and
Yeah.
and humanity will the first thing to pick on is a foreigner. If you have no job and you see, but Germany has to realize that Germany will not maintain its position in the world unless it has the foreign worker. Germans are not producing enough babies to man the German factories. So if Germany wants to be number 2 in the world, or 3, they have to have foreign workers in there, and it's a permanent fixture.
Right.
They need foreign workers.
Wow. Yeah.
They actually need foreign workers to maintain their factories, and unless the German mothers start making more babies, and that they're not doing that. So that's the story. Do you exist?
Do I exist? I exist on several planes. I try to, I try to keep existing. I feel just, I feel like that, that it's a bad situation now. I think all over the world, this recession is. I think, of course, it's financially it's putting a burden on everyone, but I feel in a weird way inspired by the recession. I don't want to make it romantic, but I feel like that there's going to be a lot of creativity coming out of it.
Why are you doing what you're doing now? Let's say at the knitting factory.
Because
Why are you there? Why are you doing this?
Because
how many musicians do you have?
I have 4 in my band.
Basic.
Guitar. I have a saxophone player who's incredible, and I think that what we're doing is almost basically protesting in a one way. I think our band, we stand for taking different elementals and creating a whole different genre, and I feel real confident. I feel great about that. But protesting like all these stupid. I'm really sick of people calling themselves alternative music. I'm sick of it's music, and I'm really tired of like I shouldn't even. I'm like gonna hang myself on TV now. So because I really believe speaking what I'm doing, what I believe in. And I feel like that. I think music in general is. I'll just put it lightly. Music in general is so commercial. It's like and if you don't fit into this, if you don't have someone come in and tell you exactly what to do, how to dress and all this other stuff, it's really difficult these days you have to suck up in order to be promoted. It's very polished and commercialized. And what we're doing is we're playing what we want to do. We've been likened to an underground, the Velvet Underground, which is a big compliment to me, which I don't think we're like that. I think we're not that good. But I feel really definite that this is what we're doing is underground and pulling music back to a root, or letting other people come in and discovering music from the root, from the edge, from the essence. And my philosophy is there's music in everything. You could throw a dish against the wall, and the way it sounds, there's music in that. And I feel like what we're doing is real important. We're kind of gyrating some wheels here. We want to make some noise. Say, hey, you guys, let's not buy into this commercial bullshit. I don't have any desire to be Madonna. I just have desire to go out and create and bring the raw essence and make the raw essence into music. That's what we're about, and music performance.
Well, I think that what I'm going to do on Thursday is going to be a nice contrast to what you.
Yeah.
It'll be. I think it's going to be an interesting night. And
you got about 30 seconds.
And so what day is that again? It's on November 24th.
Tuesday night at 11:30. And Knitting Factory.
Which is where? Where is it?
It's
on Houston Street and Broadway.
And close to Broadway, Lafayette, like right there. You can't really miss it.
And I enjoyed talking to you.
I've enjoyed talking to you too, Copernicus.
And let's hope we do a great gig.
Yeah, and we encourage everyone to come out and to experience a real experience. I think definitely it's music for me.
Bye.
Bye. So thank you for coming to my home.
Thank you. Oh.
So.
Very good.
So we got, yeah.
I'm just letting it roll black.
Do you want to film something too with your camera?
Yeah, I'd love to. Let me just
Can
pause
you
this
do
here.
this?
Well, you will within my context. Any question? In other words, we're going to have a ping pong, 1, 2, 3, and whoever wants to hit the ball at any time can just jump in.
When would this air? That you do? When would it air?
This one, what we shoot right now, in about probably 2 weeks.
See, because we couldn't really promote the Knitting Factory.
The Knitting Factory, I already put a plug on. It's on the air already.
Okay, wonderful, thanks. Well, honey. Oh, I'll talk to you later. It's different. I'll talk to you later about it. You don't understand.
Okay.
Well, welcome to our show, folks, and you are, of course, stars because you are on the Arts Axis show, and you are indeed Paulette Powell, and simply put, Copernicus. Welcome.
Why is it so simply put?
it's just one name, you know what I mean? It's,
Can't you put it a
it's
little more
simple,
complicated?
You wanna, well, that's the whole point of the interview, isn't it now?
What is the point of this
Well,
interview?
to make the simple complicated and the complicated simple.
But nothing is
But why
the
did
point.
but why did he come late?
Why did he come late? That's the good question, but it's the question that's gonna be
You
answered
haven't
in
served us drinks or anything?
the quality
Oh, we need drinks.
of
that's
your
all right.
answers.
We need
Now,
some
you
drinks.
compared yourself, Paulette, to the Velvet Underground, and I
I
thought that
didn't.
was an interesting comparison.
Well,
Tell us why you think you're similar to those guys.
Well, I said that we've been compared. I've never compared myself to
Mhm.
the Velvet. I don't think I'm good enough to be compared to the Velvet
Well,
Underground.
Don't even
you
even
know,
say that on my show.
Nico is my
because you are
icon.
good at it.
Yes. No, I think that people do feel that similar, like akin to it because of the way we do approach music, and it's very raw. It's an edge, but it's also dances on the edge of rock and roll, and very beatnik, very
Do you have
poetic.
similar concerns to people like the Velvet Underground, would you say? Are your
What
concerns
is it?
similar to
Our con-
your ideas,
are we
your
concerned?
what you think's important in life, in the world,
I think
in
that.
music?
Did they think anything was important? I think they were great. They were great. I think that Warhol was great. He was a genius when it came to marketing people. I think he did a very good job when he did the underground. But I think that as far as our philosophy, it's much different than the underground.
What's your philosophy?
My philosophy?
Yeah, you say it's different. What is
It's
it?
different. I think that we are stripping music down to the bare essence and then recreating in front of an audience and allow the audience to be part of that, to enjoy the raw energy and to, of course, influence us.
Mm-hmm.
And
What sort of interaction is there with the audience during your performances?
well, of course, they usually throw tomatoes at me, but it's quite tasty. They taste pretty good, you know. No, I think that the audience, just their energy, I feel like that by them they're applauding or, you know, be involved and to realize that we're improvising most of our stuff, you know, and I don't see anyone at this point with the band doing this.
So when you get on the stage, you improvise a lot of things right there and then.
We have a basic theme.
You
that-
make up
yeah.
lyrics and you make up music.
I get in trouble all the time for that. Now, we have a theme, and the guy, you know, we have a theme. We do some stuff we've written together that is repetitive, but we do a lot of our stuff. Half our stuff is improvised, and I don't really make it up. I let it come from me. I don't think it's making up. I think it's definitely just creating. I don't, you know, from previous experiences, perhaps previous lives, you know.
Are there those some songs that you
Bleed
will
into
have written
my-
before you get to the stage?
Yeah, well, definitely there'll be some the whole basic theme, but when I get there, I allow my soul to bleed into it, and people get the real taste of what dark blue is all about. And it's a psycho jazz too.
You know, when I was with the band, we never rehearsed, and we never went on stage knowing what we were going to do. And it was a sin to even think of rehearsing. What we would do before we had a gig, we would go to have a cup of coffee, and around a cup of coffee I would just throw out some themes I had, and then we'd go up on stage and I would do it.
Exactly, right.
So you're
We do
going
that
up now
too.
and you have only half, but I remember in one year we had done 52 original pieces in one, you know, in a small period of time on stage. Fortunately, it's all recorded too.
Tell
Yeah,
me,
great.
Copernicus, how did you meet Paulette, by the way?
Oh,
She invited me a while back to perform at Chennai,
Uh-huh.
which is a performance space on East 6th or 8th.
Right. How did you get to know about Copernicus then, Paulette?
well, I had read this really great article in the New York Press, and I thought he was really above my league. I just thought I wouldn't even ask him to come and do
Is
my
he above
reading
your league
series.
after all, or what?
I feel like he's great. Okay,
Uh-huh.
that's my opinion. I feel like he's really great, but I didn't even teeter with the thought I couldn't ask Copernicus. He wouldn't give me time of the day. You know, I was like, he's too important. I really didn't I read the article and I thought, gee, he's great. This is great. And then I had heard.
What'd you like
some
about
good stuff.
Copernicus?
I have
To be
not-
quite frank
let
with
me
our
finish.
special audience.
Okay, well, let me finish what I was saying.
Okay.
But then I started doing the reading series at Shanae, and someone suggested Copernicus, and I thought, well, yeah, but I wonder if he would really consider doing it. And I called him, and he was just I'm not going to tell, very rude and honest to me, but he was very down. I was amazed. I really thought that I'd be speaking to some really, he was really a real,
He was down to earth, you mean?
pretty much, and then he was great. He was the most professional person I really have dealt with during the reading series. He sent me this great, some publicity stuff just to let me know more about him. And he was so professional, and it was great. And he came. He was on time. He was on time. He was there on time. It was great, And I knew exactly. He knew he had his minutes down, what he was going to do. It was wonderful, and he did it, and it blew the whole place away. And
What made them think in the first place that Copernicus might be suitable for the reading series? What were the qualities that they thought that characterized his performance, his music, that were suitable?
Well, basically, I did the reading series with a girlfriend of mine, Mickey Siegel. Hey, Mickey, she's great. And Mickey and I I picked two people, and she picked two people, and so we pulled it together like that.
So you picked Copernicus?
Yeah.
What do you guys have in common in terms of your way of thinking, let's say?
I don't know.
I bet you'd have a couple of stuff there.
Well, we don't.
I don't think the thinking. I haven't seen that much of the thinking in common, except she has this faith in in spontaneity, and that through spontaneity she may reach points that she wouldn't be able to reach otherwise. So I see that in common. You exist. She thinks she exists. So we don't have the core philosophical thought of Copernicus.
Well, I think I exist with everything. I do believe in that. I think that there's like this, I believe in webs, and I think that people in general are part of this web of life. And yeah, but I don't. It's like, what did Edgar Allan Poe say? What did he write? He said something.
Talking about the imp of the perverse, I know that.
Right, that is about
That little-
dreams being reality or reality being dreams. I don't quite.
What are your
recall
dreams,
that.
Paulette?
Well,
Beautiful young woman as yourself, a talented woman, a woman who is rising, a woman who is gaining popularity because of her art.
my huge tip. No, I wish. What I don't know. I don't think I'm there. I think I'm okay. I think that we'll see what happens. I'm interested in what's going to happen, but
What do you think of Sinead O'Connor, by the way?
I love her. I would love to sleep with her. No, I think she's the most sexiest woman in the world. I think she's incredibly sexy.
She's very pretty, isn't she?
Oh, I think she's gorgeous, and I really believe, and I'm not necessarily. I don't want to, I think if she wants to tear up a picture of the Pope, it's okay with me, And
Let me ask, you talked before about Copernicus talking about horizons, dreams in art, dreams in the world of entertainment. You talked about Copernicus's openings to Germany and Central Europe and all the new order that's expressing itself there, sometimes ugly, sometimes beautiful. And you talked about racism in Germany, and you also said that you had experienced similar events, similar attitudes in Alabama.
well, let me just rephrase that.
Sure.
We were talking about previously that the media blows this skinhead thing really up really big, and they really feed into the fear of people by blowing it up. It causes something to even become bigger, But I think it's a bunch of pretty much. I feel like the skinhead movement in the United States is it's like I think 10 people are involved, and I think that.
So you really think that in terms of its pull, it's not significant?
No, it's not significant at all.
Mhm.
It's definitely
Right.
not. But I want to just clear that. Birmingham, people are always asking me. I want to just clear this up. Birmingham is a city that's a very wise city. It's been through a lot, regarding the 20 years ago. And I know some of the greatest artists I've ever met live in Birmingham, and they're great people, and they're very open-minded. I've experienced more racism, people in New Jersey. I cannot believe, even here in New York City, I experienced, I'm a victim here more than I would, it's unreal. I think that it can spread everywhere, and we have to nip it in the bud. And we have
What
to
is
teach.
what is racism, incidentally?
Well, people define that, define it differently.
And does a person have a right to be a racist?
Right. Do they have a right to be racist?
I guess it means that one race is
I'm
better
just
and one
playing.
race
Don't
is...
you have a right to be a racist?
Is it avoidable? Isn't everyone
I
racist?
think it's dumb to judge a person by.
Right, it's like-
It's dumb, but I think I have a right to be a racist, and I'll kill you if you try to tell me to stop me from being a racist. I mean, I don't think it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous to judge a person by the pigmentation of their skin. I mean, why don't you judge them by the length of their nose or the roundness of their earlobe or something? I mean,
I feel
but I
like
have a right
poking my
to
butt
be a-
onto the sofa here. Why don't you slide on a little bit?
But-
Get my 2 cents into this conversation.
but I have a right to be a racist.
Yeah,
too.
right.
I mean, that's
Oh,
for sure.
boy.
Anyway, and November, what's happening on November 24th?
Oh, we're going to be at the Knitting Factory. Dark Blue, my band Dark Blue, and we've invited Copernicus to join us to also do a performance, and we're really excited and psyched about it. So if you really want to know what Copernicus and Dark Blue, my band, is about, come to the Knitting Factory November 24th, 1992 at 11:30, and you will find out what it is and what it means to be Copernicus and Dark Blue.
Hey, Dark
The interesting
Blue,
thing was
how many
here-
numbers you sing?
105.
105. And you, Copernicus?
The interesting thing was, you saw that, I just got a write-up here of, in Berlin, they wanted Copernicus and Diamandouros on the same program.
Uh-huh.
And that seemed like, for a lot of people, that would be a little too much for the audience.
Well, that has been a long time
that's
suggestion of
okay.
yours
I'll
truly,
come, I'll
Video
come.
George.
I
That's
love
been a
Diamandouros.
suggestion of yours.
That's been a suggestion of mine because I, in fact, saw a kinship. I suspected it just between you and Paulette as well, although you
You
may
see
not
a
want to admit it in terms of
Our
defining it.
noses are alike.
See, artists don't want to define themselves too much, otherwise it doesn't leave them leeway to jump up in the outer space direction. So you might not want to admit
Can
that
I say
you're
something?
similarly influenced aesthetically, but you might well be.
No, wait.
That's why you're sitting together on that same couch.
You just mentioned Diamandouros. I want to sleep with her too.
Well,
I love her.
let's get
I
that
love
on
her.
tape. Let's make
it.
a let's make a show with that.
I'm just, well, maybe if she just, you never know that.
Now I
She lives in
understand why.
chains,
Now I
chains
understand why you
later.
didn't want the little one on TV.
I think she's great. I like her, her being so morbid. I
Uh-huh.
think that
Yeah.
I have a.
She has a bleak vision, but
I like
sometimes
that.
pessimism is informing too.
Yeah.
Pessimism, like
Well, it's
Spengler.
something about what you just said, right? The value of the negative, the positive power of the negativeness of
Now-
the mortality of the moments before dying, and how that makes
Yeah.
it that much more powerful, right?
Well, yeah, in other words, if you're realizing that if you're acting as you should, I think you should act, that every moment is the last moment of your life.
Huh.
In a real sense, it's true, because we are changing from one moment to the next, and we never stay the same, and at every moment is really the end and the beginning of something new. And this is really very important to realize.
True.
If
Can
you
I ask you a
believe
question,
that,
Copernicus?
then you will always be 100% of what you are.
Let me ask you a question. Is it possible that there is an afterlife, and that in this afterlife I come up to you and I'm
There's not
laughing,
even a present
I'm
life.
laughing
There's
and I
afterlife.
say, ha ha ha, Copernicus,
No.
nothing exists.
No.
And we recognize each other and we know we're in an afterlife.
I really don't want to have to see you in afterlife, George. I have enough of you, really.
That's it. But let's say, if you do admit that that's a
No,
possibility,
It's not.
Why don't we just stick to poking holes
Couldn't
in
it
sacred
be-
cows? And,
couldn't it be
and
now?
deal with that
It's
kind
not
of stuff?
really. It's not really.
Go ahead, Dave. Poke some holes into sacred cows.
It's.
The sacred couch, you say?
Cows.
No, this is a lovely couch. I base a lot of my last few moments on Earth in the poking of holes in sacred cows. And,
By the way, why are the last few moments more important than the first few?
because it's always the last few moments, just like he just explained. Were you listening?
No, but every moment is the end, and every moment is the beginning. And every moment is the end, and every moment is the beginning, atomically. and that is what we are.
Yeah, and I love to see people that are so arrogant and so smug, and people like Rush Limbaugh, and people that think that their brilliant questions are more important than whatever answers might follow, and that kind of sacred cow, tear up pictures of the Pope, punch holes in the presidency, show that everybody's got to stand naked. Everybody pisses in the sink sometimes, and that we're all human beings, and that anyone that thinks they're so
Yeah.
cool.
Brotherhood, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Oneness.
Right. Yeah, and that's what I do with my TV show, Volcanic Video. If I don't know if you've seen it, probably
You're a
lot
great
of you-
star in public access. There's no doubt about it.
A lot of you out there probably have seen it. If you haven't, you should tune in on Manhattan Cable at 12:30
Look
a.m.
at this. Look at
on
these
You're
guys.
watching the
Look at
the
this.
time?
Yeah.
Get your arm away from your
Monday morning.
Are you
That's
watching
after
the time?
midnight on Sunday. You know?
Yeah.
And we're within our half hour, Dave, aren't we?
Yeah, I think so. The
Because
clock
this
is on
is
the
the-
table.
No, sir.
John,
This is
Talk
the
is on the
blazing.
table.
This is the
Well,
blazing
I-
half hour.
Great.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wanna
We're
ask
gonna
you
all
two
set
a
ourselves
question,
on
guys.
fire before the
Who's
show's
watching?
over.
He's in
Is
conference.
it conceivable that you two could possibly do some numbers
Like?
in which you both participate? Maybe dramatic,
Like maybe
poetic, singing.
There.
But in other words, you both are addressing the audience or addressing each other in front of the audience at once.
Undressing the audience?
Addressing.
Let's undress the audience.
Addressing each other or the audience
Dressing
Dionysus
at
69.
once, at the same time.
What do you
Did
say?
you see
Undressing? Undressing?
Dionysus 69. Do you remember that
George, this is
performance?
not a sex show. At the
No,
wedding
we don't.
club.
We don't. Right? No sex shows. No. I just do
No.
one number.
She
that-
goes on, and then
That's
I
it.
go on.
Oh,
No.
okay.
We
So in
don't-
other
No,
words,
we're not.
you know,
No.
you're
Fully
saying,
clothed.
George,
Right.
just because you see a good-looking guy and a good-looking girl sitting on the same couch,
We-
don't
And
think
you're
they're going
not.
to
You
do
don't
an
see
act.
below the waist.
Don't think they're going to
No.
do an act together.
No, there's no. It's
No.
all. It's all fully clothed and everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
By the
we're not
way,
acting.
Have you guys ever been on public access television before? I know
Never,
Copernicus.
never been on.
You have never been on. You, Dave, of course, you're a star and a host, and
I'm a black hole. I'm a black hole of public access. I suck you down the gravitational vortex beyond the event horizon of your own mind.
There
That's
you
what I
go.
do.
Now we know Dave Shannon, the public access
As Perot would say,
producer.
you're going to hear a vast
Closet-
sucking sound going down south to Mexico.
Closet,
Well,
Case
yes,
here,
that's
you're
right. The closet.
Jobs going to Mexico.
Yeah, I will be conducting a tour of my closet very soon, and everyone should do that for each other.
Are you going to be displaying the skeletons, or are you going to be
I'll
hiding
be
them?
displaying
Okay.
every last rib and
Niche and cranny
every
and
little-
whatever.
toe phalanx.
Now, public access now. I do a show with Tom Becker of Young, Gifted, and Broke, and Miriam, and called
I've
Paulette.
heard of him.
Yeah, Paulette's
Yeah.
Party. I do Paulette's Party, and where I take you and I interview interesting people, and like Copernicus, I've interviewed.
Really? Have you
yeah,
for that show?
for that show? I've done like Annie Sprinkle.
When was Copernicus on last time?
He wasn't on my show though. I wanted him to be on my show. I wanted you to be on my show.
Oh, you have a public access show too, Paulette.
Well, no, it's young with. I do a segment on Young, Gifted, and Broke. It's
I
called
see.
Paulette's Party.
When is it
Yeah.
on?
It's on like Wednesday at midnight, I believe. But I think we got
Wow.
rescheduled. You know what?
Everyone's going to be rescheduled
I don't
because the
have
whole public access world is turning upside down, and we have a new chief, a new captain at the helm, Alex Quinn, who is probably. I think we can demand that he does wonderful things, and he seems to be pretty reasonable.
I'm sure he will be. And I want to ask you two guys, because you mentioned that you were like the Velvet Underground, Paulette, and because you mentioned Andy Warhol, I'd like you two, Copernicus and Paulette, would you please compare notes and tell me, what do you guys think of Andy Warhol and his significance on pop culture?
Andy Warhol never impressed me. I didn't respect his work. I thought he was very commercial, and he played a game. I didn't think he cared about truth. I've seen him in real life. He looked like someone that was always on some kind of a drug, whatever it was. He'll soon be forgotten. And is there anything else?
What do you think, Paulette? Do you agree with that?
He was a genius. I love Andy Warhol.
Okay. Why was Andy a genius? There are many that would agree with you. Go right ahead.
I think, well, he did influence me growing up, I think, a little bit, by making something that's not art into, like, soup cans into art, which is really, real wild, you know, it's really wild. And also, being from Birmingham, Alabama, most people didn't like Andy down there, so, I mean, so, anything that was different, I clung to it, you know, so. I really like
You
John
have to
Cale a
understand,
lot.
anybody that does not threaten the establishment, in any way, will become very famous and will be written up in the New York Times.
Exactly.
And he didn't threaten anything. He didn't
Well,
threaten
Andy
anybody.
Warhol was a mirror. I mean, he had
That's why
expressed,
he
you know,
could get all these write-ups and become so famous.
yeah,
You know?
well, he was a schmoozer and he was a mirror. He every negative or positive thing you could say about Andy Warhol
He was part
is
of
the
the
society
establishment.
that he reflected. He would just allow people to be themselves and,
Yeah, but he was part of the
Oh.
establishment.
yeah. He was like the way the
He
mirror
was
is
a
part of the
city.
wall.
As I said, I just.
But in representing us, in even in holding a mirror up to us, was he not performing a significant
I don't
social
know.
function?
You see yourself in one of his camel soup cans? Or what?
I don't want to talk about Andy Warhol. Let's go on to the next one. What else? Let's move on.
Okay.
He's always drinking. He's always eating.
Who are some of your more recent, last 10, 20 or so years influences on your music, on the way you express yourself in music?
Iggy Pop. I love Iggy Pop. Iggy Pop is God.
Okay.
And I was at a party.
Do you like China Girl?
Then I have to go. Leonard Cohen a lot. I would like to be the female Leonard Cohen, but I'm not that good. I'm not that talented.
Who is Leonard Cohen?
He's a Canadian poet who's brilliant. You like Leonard Cohen?
I've heard of Leonard Cohen, but I don't really see these people. I don't go out of my way.
But I don't get out of my way either. But the only person that I would say that really influenced me a lot was Iggy Pop, and that I was recently at a gallery opening, and they had a private party after the gallery opening, and it was rumored that Iggy was going to be there, but he didn't show up, and I was very disappointed because I was going to throw my body down to his feet and
What?
say, Iggy Pop, I'm your slave, because I think he's just great.
What's the best thing about Iggy?
His rawness, I loved it, and I think he's great.
Copernicus, lastly, I want to ask you, tell us about your last tour of Germany. You were there within the last month. You performed, you were reacted to, you observed. Tell us what's going on there. Berlin, of course, where you were, is going to reappear and has been reappearing as a major European capital. What's going on in Germany? What's the sense? What's the pulse?
Well, they have a problem. They have a problem with East Germany. It takes a lot of money to do what they want to do, but the Germans are hard workers, but they like to complain. They've got their country back, and it costs a lot of money to bring it back into the modern world, and they like to complain. But the fact of the matter is, they got what they never dreamed that they would get. They've got their country together. But they're bitching and moaning, and it's typical German. They like to complain.
When you go there, you have pretty good audiences. You have pretty excited audiences, and you have pretty large audiences. What do they like about you? What do they like about your radical, fresh, challenging sort of Copernican attitude? How do they connect with that?
I think they connect to the energy. They connect to the energy. They connect. I make them reach. I make them reach out. But they loved when I was with the band, and they liked it when I didn't have the band.
Who's your Iggy Pop, by the way?
Dylan Thomas, probably.
I love Dylan Thomas. He's great. Really great.
Any last messages to the audience in terms of what we're looking forward to?
We're going to be doing a gig together.
You're doing a gig together,
Yeah.
November
And I'd like to
24
do that. I hope
at the
everybody-
kitchen.
November 24th.
At the knitting
No,
factory.
the kids.
What am I saying?
The knitting factory on House.
All K's are not alike. It's at the knitting
11:30.
factory on
11:30.
House.
I think it's going to be an interesting evening, and comparing our two personalities. She's going to have musicians. I'll be solo, and it's going to be a very interesting night.
I'm looking Copernicus up right now.
We do have at least 4 minutes left to make our closing statements, and that's the reason. I want to tell you the reason why I think you should vote for me to be President of the United States is because I produce a fantastic television show, and we all know how much television is eating away at our minds, and the just dissolving the underpinnings of our entire psychological framework by which we perceive reality and communicate to each other, and we're all becoming gelatinous globs of
Of cellulite.
disintegrating material sitting in front of a cathode ray, X-ray beaming box, and if you out there understand, you know what I'm talking about. I'm sure you do because you're sitting in front of one right now. I think that you owe it to yourselves to tune into Volcanic Video. Downtown Manhattan, you can see it Sunday nights after midnight at 12:30 a.m. and that's channel 16. You'll see Paulette on there. You'll see Copernicus. You'll see lots of insane things that are more real than your everyday reality. Walking down the street saying hello to Mrs. Jones. And,
Okay.
that's what I think you should do.
Excellent. Now, as you said, you alluded to the recent presidential election, Dave, and we are, well,
He's a
folks,
political science. He likes political science.
just to be honest, folks, although humanity,
I was deluding to the presidential election.
humanity did create the concepts of time and space. We are speaking to you after the 1992 presidential election, and President-elect is Bill Clinton. Do you folks have any observations about the recent political process that occurred? We had 3 candidates. The third party candidate was more serious than in the last 50 years.
I guess
It was
this
an
question
interesting
will take us up
election.
to the closing.
It was an interesting election, and it was a well-watched election.
It was Bill
What were your observations? Is this a new era? Is this a new reality?
Bill Clinton and Al Gore. I mean Gore. I'm sorry, Al Gore.
Al Gore, you said?
Al Gore. I'm sorry. Okay.
That's okay.
That maybe I was thinking of Tipper a bit. I'm sorry. I don't know. I think we're all fucked anyway.
In summation.
I think we're all fucked. What do you think, Copernicus?
Well, I think the job of government is to stay out of my life. I don't want them to feed me. I don't want them to clothe me or to just educate me. I want the government to stay out of my life. If Bill Clinton gets in my way, gets in my life, which I think he will, more than anybody else has done in a long time, I'm going to have to get a violent group of people together in a machine gun.
Yes.
No.
And we are going to
We're
set
gonna go
fire to
march
the Capitol
now.
building on December 13th, and that's a Friday.
We better
And,
go. No, we'll be.
So
No,
we'll be
no, no,
meeting.
no.
We'll be meeting at Grand Central
No,
Station
actually,
at 5 a.m.
I'm trying real hard to become hired at the White House as a maid. I really, because I know that they probably make a lot of money there. So
I'd like
and
to be
I
a
could-
mole.
I like to be a fly on the wall there.
I love to see George Bush get his comeuppance right now, especially with the sale of arms technology to Iraq,
Love it,
and
love it.
he's getting it, and they're all going to get it really in the butt, and especially now. he's
Oh
not
my
gonna be
golly,
president
But will
this
he
is
anymore.
pardon?
so
Will he pardon?
distinguished.
Will he pardon?
I beg your pardon, but we're running out of time. We've
So
got about
I
30
mean-
seconds.
Do we have 30 seconds? You're speaking to Video George, Kid Your Dolphin Mode. I'm speaking to you.
George,
We are
person that
communicating together.
goes around and gets women to take their clothes off? Are you the
That's a
person?
George, but it's not
Not
me,
you. Okay,
and
alright.
it's not George Bush either.
Okay.
So,
Even though he has the right last name. But,
yeah.
but it's not.
mm,
How about let's all sigh together. Big hug.
Is it the end?
Yes.
Is it over?
It's over. It's over.
It's over, George.
It's
Push the
over.
button, George.
The
It's
fat lady didn't sing yet.
over. It's
We have to put a wig on
over.
George.
It's
He's singing.
over.
That's pretty good.
Kid your
Shut it up.
Gotham mode.
Push it over.
Now we're gonna.
Now let it run on for another few seconds. What the hell?
Show your love for me.
Well, you know what's interesting? I really have to say that. I listened to the telephone conversation, and I have it. It was very interesting.
Ooh.
And Copernicus is right, and you should listen to him, George. Listen.
He listens, but he's stubborn.